the dream, right? The vision, the whole thing is so big and it's so loud that others around you, they don't get it. How do we maneuver? How do we navigate? It's big, and it may be even big for us, but even more so when it's too loud for others, that it's too big for others to contain. It's too big.
It can be hard, especially for those who have known you since, Jesus, wasn't he Joseph the carpenter's son? Those that have known you coming up, and suddenly all of this is happening, and it can be hard, especially for people who know. Sometimes it's easier for people who don't know you, like, oh, okay, yep, I can accept that, I can understand that. But sometimes friends and family, it can be hard for people to handle the size, handle what God's doing, handle, how do I categorize you now? People are seeing you one way, but I know you as this, and so it's definitely about managing yourself, and knowing that you can't manage other people's emotions and expectations, but you can just manage how you maneuver and how you interact, how you kind of help and coach people through the new season that you may be going into as well. But sometimes it's hard. It's just hard for people to handle, hard for people to get their head around. But I preferred it when it was like this. I preferred you when you were like this. I preferred things when they were like this. Because the other thing that sometimes that happens when you begin to step out of the boat, step out of the comfort zone, step out on faith into what it is you want to do, is it now highlights this gap. It now highlights sometimes where someone else is. I know that I'm meant to be stepping out, and we can stay back here and make excuses, but when you step out and you leave me here, you're now leaving me exposed, because actually there's things that I need to be doing too. And
Mm,
I'm uncomfortable with you changing our environment. Can we go back to how things were?
wow. I like that. I like that. So you might want to step out, and you step out, but the person you left behind on the boat. But remember, the whole thing, even let's look at it that way as well. Jesus wasn't just talking to Peter. It wasn't just Peter on the boat. It wasn't just Peter on the boat. And I tend to think that we forget about that in life, right? It wasn't just Peter on the boat. And he spoke to the disciples. Peter responded.
Mm.
Peter did an action. Peter went forward. But what the message wasn't just for Peter. So even businesses, right? Or say someone wants to start something, they want to become an author, they want to become a fashion designer or anything that nature. It's not just for one person, it's for all, right? But it's who's stepping out, who's answering the clarion call. How do we navigate? How do we go forward? Do we take that chance? Do we share?
Do we must, like, I feel like time is running out, and we have to do what we have been called and purposed to do. Not doing it is not an option, because we can't just think about ourselves.
Mhm.
We need to think about who we're doing this for, who's going to be affected by it, who does God want our lives to impact, as you say.
Mhm.
And that's the greater mission, that's the greater purpose, that has to be the greater drive. I can't be like, no, I'm too scared to show up on Facebook, oh, I don't feel, that's me. What message is in my mouth that somebody needs? What post do I need to post on Facebook today that might save somebody's life, that
Mm.
might change their thinking, that might push them into their destiny? But I don't want to show up because, oh, me. It has to go beyond me, and I have to do this for my people who need what I have.
Right.
And so in terms of stepping out into our dream, we have to do it. And yet it can have a positive effect, it can have a negative effect on other people. And the other thing that happens with our friends and those close to us, when we start to make those big moves and those big strides and those big
Mhm.
leaps of faith,
Mhm.
it can have a negative effect, because actually if we've been pals and we've been girlfriends for all these years and we've been ride or die and doing what we're doing, and suddenly I'm saying now I want to step out and do something different, now I want to actually go forward into what I know I've been called to do, and stop
Right.
procrastinating and stop making excuses, where does that leave my girlfriend?
Mm,
That leaves my girlfriend on the boat. When I step out in faith, that leaves my girlfriend on the boat. It leaves her exposed to actually, what am I doing? And what have I been called and destined to do that I'm not doing?
wow. But you talk about the boat. I look at the boat situation with Peter, and I use that in every area of my life now. And even with regards to this dream, right? Hearing this, getting this dream that may appear to be loud and loud for others or loud for myself, then, so to speak, right? So with this dream, remember, Jesus spoke to the disciples. He
Mm,
didn't speak only to Peter. He spoke to all the disciples. So for me, I'm at this space in my life where I'm learning to celebrate my small wins
yeah.
and not to feel guilty of going on without the others. Because the
Mm,
call was made, but it's who answered to the call. Make it all the way,
right.
right? So the process of getting to the there, it could mean some form of failure. It could mean I may drown somewhere, or it seemed like I'm going to drown. But the fact that I answer to the call, and I think sometimes if people want to do a business, they want to go out, they want to adventure, and they get this dream, like you say, the dream is so loud, it's loud for others. And yes, I understand I may leave my sister behind, and now she's exposed. But the fact is, we all heard the call,
Yeah.
right? So it's who answered to the call. For me, I know like I know what my gifts are. So if you need to go to a female doctor, a gynecologist, you go to a gynecologist, not for your feet, right? You go to a podiatrist for that. So we all have different gifts and different abilities and different parts in the body that we are supposed to play that role, right? Just the same as in businesses. So, somebody may be an author, somebody may be a podcaster, somebody may be a fashion designer, but whatever it is, if whatever the dream is, and whatever, if it's ordained by God and it's divine, divinely interpreted and everything in that nature, I think we should just go for it, no
Mm,
matter how loud it looks.
mm,
It's going to be scary, right? But go for it.
yeah.
Introduce that to us. This whole concept of the inevitable effect. What is that about?
So this is chapter 5 of my book, Finding Divine Flow, which I just entitled the whole chapter, The Inevitable Effect, because there is an effect that we have on others, and it's from people who stand with you and those who can't stand you.
You might want to take your time and say that again. People who stand with you, those who support you, right?
Hmm.
And those who cannot stand you. Those who, is that to say that they don't like you?
Yeah, along those lines, uh-huh.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure.
And the same thing that someone can love you for is the same thing someone else could hate you for.
Mm,
And that's tough. And from the perspective of the person, that's hard. Like, this one person loves me for this, celebrates me, praises me, pays me, wants me to do this thing, whereas another person, a friend, a family member, can't stand me because of
because
this
of
same
that
thing.
thing.
And sometimes it's an inevitable effect. And the two people in the Bible that I love to draw from is Joseph and Esther. And they are the main characters that I talk about in this inevitable effect, because for both of them, for Joseph, it was the favor, and for Esther, it was her beauty and that effect that you have on people. And it's how you treat those people. It's how you come across, because now you're having to not only manage your own emotions, but partly having to manage yourself because of how other people treat
People,
you. And
right.
so you're constantly thinking, I want to do this, but let me not say that because I don't want to come across, constantly having to think about your effect that you're having on, constantly having to tame your words and how you say things, and constantly having to think about the effect that you're having. And even in this whole, lockdown and COVID season, yes, there has been some tough times, but there has been some great times. I've developed a podcast in this season. I have
Welcome to the podcast world.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm having so much fun. I have enjoyed that. I have turned my book into an audio book. I have been coaching women in ministry for business. Just so
Wow.
many different things have been going on. I've tried
Wow.
some things. I did a membership and I did it for 4 months, and I was like, we're not doing the membership no more because I wasn't. But again, it was great to try different things. And so even with that, I'm having to, when someone asks me the question of, how are you doing? I'm having to tailor my response sometimes because I'm trying to see how you're doing too. And
Mhm.
actually, has this been a really tough time for you? And have you lost people? Has it been a really hard season? You don't need me coming, oh my God, it's been so good.
Yeah, I can open 2 businesses, 3 businesses, and the person that lost their business, lost even their job, didn't have a business, lost their job.
So even in that, having to manage your effect on people.
Yeah, yeah,
And there are certain places where I can express myself and I can show you this joy and all this great stuff that's happening, and there are times when I have to tone that down just a little bit
to Tailor.
because you're having an effect.
Yeah, yeah,
Having an effect where you can still share your story, but do it well, do it tastefully,
mm,
understand where people are. And not everyone is at that hype place, so sometimes you have to just tailor how you come across. Tailor at the end of Joseph's story, and for people to consider, is at the end of Joseph's story, his dream came to pass. He
yeah,
ended up saving his family. At
yeah.
the end of Esther's story, no matter what the girlfriends were thinking and feeling about how you left us, she ended up saving your life
Mm,
because she risked her life to go before the king uninvited.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so the same people that you may stand with or not, can't stand, that same big dream that they have may be the dream that ends up blessing and changing your life.
absolutely.
So we need to be careful how we treat people, especially when they share their dreams.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and and I think too, the other part too is we have to also know when to share our dreams and to who to share it with. Because you will have, I mean, let's be real, you have those dream snatchers. Before you can even finish it, they grab it right out of your mouth.
Have to learn and discern, and sometimes we can almost want to sabotage ourselves
Yes.
because you had the dream and you want it, but actually if I tell this person, I know that they're going to say,
Mm,
and I know that that's going to put me off, and I know that that's going to hold me back. Sometimes we know how to sabotage ourselves because there's some people you shouldn't be sharing nothing like that with. Just, hi, how you doing? How's the weather? God bless you, goodbye. End of story. Just why? Why would you do that to yourself? There are seasons where you just have to keep it between you and God
yes.
and in your journal, and
Yeah.
just leave it right there and just marinate. So there's a season of just hold it. Just marinate. Just leave the oven door closed, because if you open that door, that cake's going to go flat and there's going to be no... Keep it closed and just marinate. Just let it cook. Just let it bake from the inside. It's got to cook all the way through.
Mm,
And there are safe places that will open up, and you test the waters. Let me just test. Let me just give you a little bit of this. I'm not going to give you a whole pearl. I got a whole necklace back here. I'm not going to give you a whole pearl. I'm just going to let you just a little. Let me just test it and see. Let me see how you handle that. Okay, no, you can't be trusted. So I'm not giving you any more of my pearls, because pearls is wisdom. Pearls is precious.
yeah.
And you can't cast your pearls before swine, because it says that they'll tear up the pearls and then they'll come to tear you up straight after.
Right after.
So you got to be real careful with your pearls, and be careful who you share with, and there'll be an inner circle that you can share with, but don't chase it. Just take time.
Right. Right.
Marinate over that thing, because it's too precious, it's too dangerous to put the pearls in the wrong hands.
What are some of the positive effects that we have on others, and what are some of the negative effects that we have on others, and vice versa?
So with the positive effects we have on others, so one of the podcast shows I did recently was with a friend of mine. She's doing really great in business. She's just started her nail business. And then she just kept saying, because when you did this and when you said that, and I was like, let's just do a podcast together and let's just explore this a little bit more. So I was like, so what did, I think she said she was about 11 when we first met. And she was like, I was 11 years old and you was up there on the praise team. And she said, you were the fashion icon of the church. I was like, I was what?
Wow.
But in her little 11-year-old eyes, in this city outside of London, this was the fashion lady that she looked up to. And
Wow.
she was watching me in my journey because this was going back a good 10, 11 years. So she was seeing all those early days of me doing fashion and testifying a little bit in church, and then mention something to pastor and he would preach on it a little bit. And this is what's going on with Camille. And she met someone and I'm testifying, and her little eyes, I didn't realize her little eyes were watching me. And she got to the point in life where she was just like, okay, I need to figure out what my business is. And went into nails, and she's doing great in nails. And COVID happened, and she started creating nail oils because I saw some nail oils one day, and I was like, one day I'll see you. And she created this. So you don't know what little eyes are watching you, have been watching you, are watching you, but you're having an effect on people that you don't even realize that you're having an effect on. I'd be posting on social media and doing my thing and go quiet for a little while, and people I didn't even know were watching me like, Camille, what's going on? Are you okay? You haven't seen your post for a while. Oh, you ain't liked, you ain't commented, you ain't shit. I ain't never seen you. But you're having an effect.
Having an effect without even realizing it,
Without
right?
even realizing. And sometimes it's when you stop, it's when you change. That's when you realize, oh, I didn't know you were watching. Keep being you and keep doing what you're doing, because you are having a positive effect and other people are having an effect on you as well. And then there's the negative effect of measuring and comparing.
Wow. But you talk about the boat. I look at the boat situation with Peter, and I use that in every area of my life now. And even with regards to this dream, right? Getting this dream that may appear to be loud and loud for others, or loud for myself then, so to speak, right? So with this dream, remember, Jesus spoke to the disciples. He didn't speak only to Peter. He spoke to all the disciples. So for me, I'm at this space in my life where I'm learning to celebrate my small wins,
Yeah.
and not to feel guilty of going on without the others. Because the call was made, but it's who answered to the call. Make it all the way.
Right.
Right? So the process of getting to the there, it could mean some form of failure. It could mean I may drown somewhere, or it seem like I'm going to drown. But the fact that I answer to the call, and I think sometimes if people want to do a business, they want to go out, they want to adventure, and they get this dream, like you say, the dream is so loud, it's loud for others. And yes, I understand I may leave my sister behind, and now she's exposed. But the fact is, we all heard the call.
Yeah.
Right? So it's who answered to the call. For me, I know I know what my gifts are. So if you need to go to a female doctor, a gynecologist, you go to a gynecologist, not for your feet, right? You go to a podiatrist for that. So we all have different gifts and different abilities and different parts in the body that we are supposed to play that role, right? Just the same as in businesses. So somebody may be an author, somebody may be a podcaster, somebody may be a fashion designer, but whatever it is, whatever the dream is, and if it's ordained by God and it's divine, divinely interpreted and everything in that nature, I think we should just go for it, no matter how loud it looks. It's going to be scary, right? But go for it.
Yeah.